Okay, so for today's video, we're going to go over what I want the next Skylanders game to be. Not exactly what I expect the next game to be, but what I want it to be. Also, one thing I want to note before getting into this video, I'm recording this video on 7/15/24, so if any new Skylanders news comes out after this date, I was not aware. Okay, starting with the big question, physical toys or completely digital? For me, this is easily physical toys. I do think a digital game would be fun, but Skylanders would lose some of the magic it has if it was completely digital. I also understand digital is probably safer, but if Skylanders is ever going to be a huge franchise again, it will have to take some risk and have something that sets it apart from other games. And that would be the thing that made it popular to begin with, being Toys to Life. What I honestly think would be smart would be releasing an updated digital version of some of the older games, like Skylanders Pirate's Adventure, to see if there's still a strong market for the Skylanders games. And if it does well, then release this game or whatever game with the toys. If we are doing a new physical Skylanders game, the question is, what is the new gimmick? This part took me a while to decide, but I picked something which I don't think is the most creative, but I also don't think the next game will need a crazy new gimmick, since the return of Toys to Life will be enough of a gimmick on its own for the first returning game. So what I chose is something like regional variants from Pokemon, so what we would have is Skylanders from previous games, but with slightly new designs and being of new elements. An example would be like an air version of Zap that is white instead of blue, that flies and leaves lightning clouds instead of water. So this game would be called something like Skylanders Elemental Swap or Skylanders Elemental Change. I haven't thought too far in the title, but something along those lines I think would make sense. Okay, now for the Skylanders themselves. As far as the new Skylanders themselves in this game, I want 4 for each element, and I want the 4 to each be different things. 1 regional variant, 1 reposed old Skylander, 1 new core game Skylander, and 1 collab Skylander. Obviously, the new regional variant Skylanders could be stuff like Air Zap, a water terrapin where he's like, obviously where he's a shark, just a water version of him would make sense. An undead or dark stealth elf I think would obviously make a lot of sense, being like a sneaky elf already. And then a tech wrecking ball where it's like wrecking ball but like iron around him and he has like a little chain on the top of his head I think would be cool. A magic version of Hex, since Hex is kind of like a witch. And then an Earth Warnado where he could either be like a dust storm or cause the natural disaster of an earthquake instead of a tornado. And then as far as just the old Skylanders that are like new reposed ones, I would just do some fan favorites from like the original games like Spyro, Bash, and Gilgrunt. And then as far as just brand new core-based Skylanders, some designs I would love to see would be a Hydra. I can't believe we didn't get a Hydra as far as a figure. So what I would love to see would be a baby version of the one from the original Chaos boss fight. I think that would be awesome. Also a tiger shark, like a hybrid animal that could walk on land and swim with like tiger stripes, and a shark dorsal fin would be awesome. And then for a certain subscriber, an elephant or mammoth-based Skylander, which I also think I would personally like, but I know I have a certain subscriber that would love for that to happen. And then one new last Skylander I would like to see is some sort of dinosaur or prehistoric animal, maybe something like a Dimetrodon with a fire sail, or a Ceratopsian with horns on fire, or maybe something based off of Dunkleosteus, which is a huge armored fish, or you could make it water because it's a fish, or make it earth or tech for the armor. Finally, for the new collab, I think there are a lot of cool options for collabs, and Skylanders is no stranger to collabs, as it has collaborated multiple times in the past with Spyro, Crash, and Nintendo. But I think Skylanders should try to do a big collaboration for this game, since with Toys to Life being kind of risky, having a known franchise to get guaranteed fans would be smart. I think an obvious choice would be Pokemon, but I want the collab to be with Godzilla. I think the Godzilla franchise would be great for multiple reasons. With no big Godzilla game in years, any game with Godzilla would get their fans super excited. Also, Godzilla is huge globally right now with the Monsterverse, so I think this would make a lot of sense for a collab. But I assume this collab would go one of two ways, either a Monsterverse collab with Kong and the new monsters like Shimo, or it could be more of an original Toho collab, which is what I chose with these monsters. Okay, now we're going to go over the Godzilla monsters I've chosen and their respective elements. First off, we've got Godzilla being Earth. I just think this makes a lot of sense, being a monster from Earth, kind of just looking like an Earth monster with like his big spikes and stuff, and being like the protector of Earth, or the monster that like kind of controls the Earth, or not controls, but like make sure everything stays in balance. I think he just makes a lot of sense for Earth. And then for air, we chose King Ghidorah, which I think makes a ton of sense for a multitude of reasons. For one, he can obviously fly, but a lot of the Godzilla monsters can fly, so that's definitely not the only reason. Next, he's got some like lightning powers, or it like looks like lightning, and then he also just straight up creates storm clouds. So I think all that adds up for him to be the air element Skylander. And then for fire, we've got Rodan. In some forms, he's called Fire Rodan, and in the MonsterVerse movie, he literally comes out of a volcano and has like almost like that like charred magma or whatever like on his wings, and like just he makes a lot of sense for a fire element Skylander with all his stuff. And then for water, we actually chose Destroya, and that's because Destroya is made up of a bunch of little tiny crustaceans, and almost all crustacean Skylanders are water. And obviously because the little crustaceans that form Destroya come from the water, so it just kind of all works. And then for life, we chose Mothra. I think this makes a lot of sense. Mothra is like the life monster, has sacrificed her life to help monsters like Godzilla, and is able to like rebirth herself, so she makes a lot of sense, I think, as a life Skylander. And then we have Batra as undead. Batra is one of my personal favorite monsters that just isn't in a ton of stuff, so Batra would be awesome in this game. And Batra being undead, being almost like the counterpart to life, makes a ton of sense because Batra's almost like the evil counterpart, or the darker counterpart to Mothra, so the undead version compared to the life version of Mothra. And then for magic, we chose Space Godzilla because Space Godzilla is kind of like Godzilla, but almost has like some magical almost powers being from space, but having its powers that Godzilla doesn't, so that's why I chose magic. And then for tech, I chose Mechagodzilla, or in this case specifically, Kiryu, just because that's my favorite design-wise of the Mechagodzillas. Okay, and with all these Skylanders chosen, I think the starter pack would make sense to have one new core Skylander, one of the new collab Skylanders, and a regional variant. So for this case, I would probably do Godzilla, an Undead, or Dark Stealth Elf, whichever makes the most sense, and the Tiger Shark-based Skylander. Now for the plot of this game. As far as the plot, I don't really think we need a super complex plot. I would just do something really similar to SSA with Chaos returning and having to go to different areas. Honestly, having the plot almost exactly like Spyro's Adventure would be fine to me. Just do somewhere between 20 and 30 chapters where you have to find each of the elemental sources and restore the Core of Light or whatever it wants to be in this game. And then do new chapters and just have a nice variety of areas, kind of like in SSA. And then eventually defeat Chaos. And now for this game's like specific features. As far as this game, I want there to be a heavy focus on online multiplayer, specifically PvP. I'm not for sure if online multiplayer and PvP were available in the later games, but it would definitely be in this game. For one, being able to play story mode itself online with friends would be great, but the main reason I want a heavy focus on online play is for PvP. Online fighting games continue to get played even without a new story just because it's fun to fight other players. So having Skylanders online PvP, which was super fun in the past, I feel like is an obvious decision that could get people to play the game for years. Also, I would want a lot of the other game features like heroic challenges and stuff, but the main thing I want is PvP and online playability, and those two to be combined. Now regarding the other big question that would occur if the game was physical towards the end would be if the old Skylanders were playable. And this might be really surprising to you all, but I don't really care if the old Skylanders are playable, because I normally just use the Skylanders from the games they go to. But if I could pick, I would make it where old Skylanders are playable, but maybe make it something like they are only available in the story mode, or only Skylanders that have a new mold for the game are available, or they have a lower level cap like 15 compared to 20 for the new Skylanders. And that way, people would mainly use the new Skylanders for stuff like online PvP. Whatever it is, I just think they need a reason for people to try and get new Skylanders and not just use their old ones, or else the game just won't sell enough of the toys. And now for my plan with this specific game. Unlike previous games, this game would be planned to be the only new Skylanders game for at least a few years. Maybe add a few more adventure packs if this game is going really well, but wait at least like 3 to 5 years before releasing a whole new game, which I think would have helped the original games a lot instead of going back to back to back. Like they literally did like 6 games in 6 years. I don't think doing that plan is the smart idea. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video of what I want the next Skylanders game to be. If you have any changes or recommendations like new core Skylanders or new regional variants for this game, or if you would like to just give me your own idea for the next game, I would love to see it in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully we get a new Skylanders game soon. And Batra is one of my personal favorite monsters, so I would love for Batra to be in this game. And then for tech, Since I talked a little about Godzilla and prehistoric animals in this video, I just wanted to let you all know that I have a second channel where I do videos on dinosaurs and prehistoric animals, but recently have been doing Godzilla content on it. So if you are interested in that type of stuff, definitely check out my other channel that I will put a link in the description to.